All right, and hello everybody for this college football playoff reaction show. First rankings of the 2025 season just revealed about an hour ago, and I mean, not a big surprise, maybe Travis, but good news for Aggie fans. And it's the highest ranking ever, number 3. This is Travis Brown, our KBTX senior Texas A&M sports writer,
and that's Tyler Shaw,
yeah,
the sports director here at KBTX.
We are here, just here to kind of chat a little bit, kind of break down what we saw, what we heard from Mac Rhodes, the chair of the selection committee, and just kind of their thought processes. And then again, this is one of 6 rankings, so throughout the season we're going to kind of see where this moves, especially when A&M's got that top 12 on its mind.
Well, so this is something that we started last year with our buddy Alex Egan. He's busy, so I guess you'll do. But yeah, we like to get in here, break down a little bit of what is going on with the college football playoff rankings. What we heard, we go on a teleconference, like you said, with Mac Rhodes, the committee chair. To kind of he talked a little bit about the Aggies. We'll have that a little bit. But most importantly, if you're watching us on Facebook, which a few of you are right now, you can go ahead and if you want to fire in some comments, some questions, we can get to those and answer those as well. So thank you, everybody, for joining us in that. Tyler? I know we said you were going to anchor this. I jumped in there.
No.
As I twist and tweak a few more things here, I'm curious, and we'll go ahead and throw up the rankings as they are, of course. Now A&M number 3.
Not quite.
Ohio State's number 1. Indiana's number 2. A&M is number 3. Just your initial thoughts on A&M's ranking and the ranking of everyone around them.
Well, again, like I said, no big surprises here. In fact, it's just what that top 5 is what the AP poll is. So kind of similar trains of thought there. There's not a whole lot of movement at the top. There was a lot, and there's a debate. I think what is kind of set in stone is those are the top 3 teams right now. The 3 best undefeateds. There was debate, heading into this. Well, what is the committee going to do as far as the order? Is Indiana going to be one? Is Texas A&M going to jump? Because there are metrics out there that say Texas A&M, has an argument to be number 1. But yeah, not a whole lot of surprise. Ohio State, Indiana have kind of shown that they are in those top teams. Of course, Texas A&M has a much better strength of record right now than you look at Ohio State's opponents, what they've played. But you talk to Mac Rhodes, and he kind of, he said it came down to the defense.
Why don't we
Texas
go ahead
A&M.
and go ahead and fire that away here. We talked to, like you said, Mac Rhodes. He's the AD at Baylor. He's also the chair of the College Football Playoff Committee. And he had a teleconference and talked a little bit about what they saw in A&M, as well as this defense, a differentiator between Indiana, Ohio State, and A&M. So here is Mac Rhodes on the College Football Playoff Ranking teleconference just minutes ago.
Yeah. So what we saw in A&M is a really, really good football team. They went into Death Valley, I thought, dominated a good LSU team. You have a dynamic playmaker at quarterback, Marcus Reed. He can beat you with his arm. He can beat you, with his feet. Impressive win. Certainly going on the road, South Bend. So I think you're talking about really small margins when you think about difference between Ohio State, Indiana, and A&M. And then I think statistically, when we looked at A&M defensively, they're just lower than both Ohio State and Indiana. And so Alex had to make a hard decision, and you're trying to find separators, and that was a separator for us.
Now, I know, Tyler, in our scramble, you didn't actually get to hear a whole lot of that. You heard what they said on the ESPN broadcast, but the majority of it was the fact that A&M, they there's fine margins between Ohio State, Indiana, and A&M. But what it came down to is statistically, A&M was not as good defensively as Ohio State or Indiana. I think that surprised me a little bit because you do look at A&M in the tackles for loss numbers in the third down defense. They went, what was it, 4 games with five third down conversions. They were number one. They are number one in third down conversion defense right now. But you pulled up some of the numbers. If you look at just base generic defensive numbers, they have a point.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. You go eye test. You go, just pure numbers and stats. Because eye test, yes, Texas A&M's defense is very, very good. In fact, you talk about tackles for loss, they are number one in the nation in sacks per game. But then, yeah, you break it down, just no eye test involved, just pure numbers and stats. And I mean, Ohio State has been dominant defensively. They are literally number one in the nation in points allowed and total defense yards per game. They've played 8 games. They've allowed 6 touchdowns in 8 games. And that's just remarkable. And Indiana's not too far off from what Ohio State is. It's a drastic difference from Ohio State, Indiana, kind of where they are in Texas A&M. And again, you make that argument of, okay, well, who has Ohio State played? How strong of a schedule is Indiana's? I get that. But yeah, I see the argument of Texas A&M's defense maybe hasn't been very consistent. And that's something we've seen where, yes, they have won them games and they have, gotten, LSU. They completely turned around that second half and shut down, and that kind of helped win them the game there. But it wasn't like that for 4 quarters, and we've seen that throughout the course of the season. Arkansas got into a shootout. They're winning the games, and that's what matters. And if they keep winning the games, that is all that matters. And they're going to have their shot and their chance to prove themselves. But yeah, if you're looking at defense right now, I mean, there's not really an argument you could make based on this that A&M is better than Ohio State, Indiana defensively.
It's interesting because the conversation we have to kind of prep for these things in our line of work about, okay, so if A&M is here, what do we do? If A&M is here, what do we do? And we had the conversation of there could be a chance. It was a small chance, but there could be a chance that A&M comes out as number one in these rankings because the SEC banged the drum all offseason about strength of schedule metrics, about looking at the quality of resume and things like that. And when you look at A&M, they are darlings in those categories. In the ESPN strength of record, A&M is number 1, followed by Indiana at number 2, Ohio State at number 3. If you look at strength of schedule, A&M is 15th according to ESPN, but that is ahead of both Indiana and Ohio State, who are Ohio State comes in here. Indiana is 39th, and Ohio State is 33rd. Of course, like we said, A&M is 15th. Sagarin ratings, A&M is 11th strength of schedule. So those seem to maybe not play quite as much of importance when it's coming to the fine-tuning minutia, and it's maybe something that would drive Greg Sankey a little bit crazy with how much, we were at SEC spring meetings and they handed us out all packets talking about how deep and the SEC is and how much of a gauntlet it is to go through it. And the committee, at least right now, has said, no, Ohio State and Indiana, they edge out A&M in that.
What the committee is saying right now, I guess, is there isn't any SEC bias, as some would say, and I was curious of how they were going to take into account this strength of record and the strength of schedule and everything, because it is night and day kind of what A&M's strength of record compared to Indiana's, Ohio State's. But yeah, they're not. You have 2 Big Ten teams ahead of them. Now, SEC as a whole has 9 teams in there. There's going to be several that end up making the playoff. So it's now it's interesting with the SEC. There's going to be teams left out of this college football, top 12 when you look at the bracket, because right now
one pretty noticeably,
Texas and Oklahoma,
both
left out because as it stands right now, because the ACC highest ranked, let's assume they're assuming Virginia wins the ACC. They're the highest ranked ACC team at 14. They're going to get an automatic bid. The highest group of 5 team gets an automatic bid. That's Memphis. So that's kind of telling when, this format, and of course, the format's going to change. It looks like it's continuing to
we'll
evolve.
Bring up the bracket here to look a little bit at that, because like you're saying, Virginia comes in at the 11 seed, even though they are ranked. Where was Virginia ranked?
Virginia's 14.
14.
Memphis is not in the top 25, by the way.
Correct.
So this is a team outside the top 25 that would make the the 12-team playoff as it stands right now.
Right, and that's this is the second year of the 12-team playoff, so there isn't a whole lot of data going back around on this. But the last year, Boise State was right in the mix in the top 12, so this wasn't really an issue that had to be addressed. And curious how much those SEC and Big Ten commissioners are kind of wringing their hands about that.
Yeah, because it seems to kind of prove their point right now. Because, last year didn't matter because Boise State was in that mix. It's kind of a weak group of 5 year. It's not always like that, but this year there's not a team that's kind of really standing out. I mean, you're going to have Memphis there. I mean, if North Texas keeps winning, did they get a shot at making the playoff? Teams like that. Which, again, I think can be fun for the sport. But, yes, you're going to have very angry SEC and Big Ten commissioners if you get teams like Texas and Oklahoma snubbed for the likes of a Memphis or even a Virginia that, gets that automatic bid, even though they're not a top 12 team. But, yeah, it is log-jammed right now, the SEC. Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, all right there in the mix. So those would be the 4 SEC teams as it stands. There are 6 in the top 12. 4 would make the 12-team bracket as it stands right now.
So let's go back to the rankings right here. I think it's pretty. We're
just going back and forth.
I know how to work this. I promise. Yeah. Let's look a little bit past there. The top 4 or 5 that we've been looking at. Big one to look at there, BYU, Texas Tech. We talked about it a little bit.
It's college game day this weekend. They're going to play each other, and that'll kind of sort itself out of who is still a playoff team.
Another notable piece, Notre Dame, one of A&M's biggest win of the season, sitting right there at 10. They have a top 10 win right there with there, and then Missouri coming in at 22 is who A&M faces this week, and then we'll have number 11 Texas at the end of the year. There's still plenty of time for A&M to bolster their stock, their resume with some ranked wins as this plays out.
Yeah, win over Missouri this weekend would be huge. That keeps them right there in the top 3 at least. With maybe a chance to move up. Who knows? Depending on how they play on Saturday. I was curious coming into this what the committee would do with Notre Dame, seeing as their toughest games are behind them. It seems like they will win out. I was curious if they were kind of going to make Notre Dame play their way into the top 12. But sitting at number 10 right now, the highest ranked 2-loss team, it seems like the committee, if Notre Dame wins out, it seems like they're a playoff team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have A&M sitting with a win over a playoff team. That's huge. We've compared this year and last year with A&M a lot because they had a hot start. They were 7-1 as opposed to 8-0 right now. But this year feels different, Travis. It feels like, we talked about the opportunities, Missouri, Texas. They still have 2 more home games, South Carolina and Samford. It feels like they are on a one-way track to the playoff. Unless there's an epic collapse, I don't see them playing their way out of this top 12 in any realistic way.
No, I don't either. And the other interesting thing to look at, let's bring up Ohio State's schedule and Indiana's schedule, because Ohio State still has Michigan at the end of the season, but their last 4 games are Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, and Michigan. And Indiana's final 4 games, or 3 games because they've already played 9. Penn State, Wisconsin, Purdue. A&M still has 2 more ranked matchups in there. There is a chance for them to move up. I wonder how much style points they're going to need to put up on defense to appease the committee, or if ranked wins, if they continue winning, will be enough to supersede whatever deficiencies they have in defense.
Ranked wins might be, because if you look at the last games, I mean, if A&M's coming off wins, and let's say Texas keeps winning, I mean, they still have Georgia on the schedule. If Texas beats Georgia, they're going to move up. If A&M has a win over Texas and a ranked Missouri team, and they win, and they're 12-0, that'd be hard not to put them at number 1.
No.
When you're pitting them up against what Ohio State and Penn State have on their schedule left. That, I think, is huge, actually, the difference between 1 and 3, because if you're the number 1 team going into the SEC championship game, I don't think you need to win the SEC to be a top 4 team and get a bye.
Say that again.
If you are if Texas A&M hypothetically is number 1 heading into the SEC title game, I don't think they need a win to solidify themselves as a top 4 team.
Because there's a good chance, looking at the way that it's set up here, it's going to be winner of the Big Ten and winner of the SEC,
1 and 2,
and then 3 and 4 will probably be the runner-ups of the conference championship games. At least how it's spelled out here.
Right. So if A&M keeps the trajectory going the way they are, they don't even need to win the SEC to get a bye, and that's huge. I think every coach is going to want a bye, despite the weird things that happened last year, and no teams that got a bye ended up advancing. But you talk to coaches at this stage, how many games they've played, they're going to want the rest. But yeah, I think that'll be huge for A&M's track to not only make the playoff, but be a top 4 spot, get that bye, and head straight to the quarterfinal round.
Yeah, I think the biggest factor here is you got to win the ranking. You got to win at Missouri this week. You got to win at Texas at the end of the week. Do you think, let's see, Indiana this weekend has Penn State. Ohio has Purdue. A&M gets a win over number 22 Michigan. Is that enough to push them into number 2, number 1? Because, I mean, even if you look at here, I probably would put Indiana at number 1 ahead of Ohio State if it was just me making this bracket. A&M probably at number 3. But next week, if that was the case and Indiana and Ohio State were flipped, I'd probably leave. I don't know. I mean, do you think that's enough to give A&M a jump just from that one win if they do make that win?
Yeah, I don't know. The committee kind of, Missouri's actually lower than I thought they would put them.
Yeah, that's true, because they're 19 in the AP poll.
In the AP poll, they're 22. That's the thing. To me, the committee's not valuing Missouri, I think, as much as they could. And because of that, I don't know if a win like that is enough to vault them that week. I think it's going to take the totality of staying undefeated and a win over Texas would really solidify them, I think, as a number 1 team. But that's interesting. If Ohio State or Indiana don't look super impressive, and A&M just walks up to Columbia and completely destroys Missouri like they did last year to a top 10 Missouri team, then yes, I think that would be enough to move them up.
We got a comment here from Brian over on Facebook. Thanks for checking in. I actually had my screen. I thought they were going to come top down, not bottom up. So I'm looking down. He said, well, what offenses have those others played? I assume talking about Indiana and Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State's best win of the season is against Texas, but Texas is now 11 and has they
also don't have a great offense.
Gone up and down, and they haven't shown that they've had a great offense until even a good offense until late. And number 17 Illinois, but that's not a great offense necessarily per se. Yeah, I mean, Ohio State has not played, I would feel, the same caliber of offense. I mean, A&M Arkansas had one of the best offenses in the nation.
Right.
It was just defense that failed them, and that game ended up being a shootout. Notre Dame had 2 of the best running backs in the country in that game that they were able to to slow down. Indiana, I mean, yeah, their non-conference was Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. They also played Illinois. The differentiator between Indiana and Ohio State to me, and this is why I don't understand why Indiana isn't above Ohio State, is that win over then number 3 Oregon.
Right.
Oregon has a pretty good offense.
Number 5, actually, if you're talking scoring offense, the 5th scoring offense in the nation, Indiana had a great win over them. And when we're talking about why not Indiana over Ohio State, Indiana has the number 1 scoring offense in the nation. So you're talking about a team that has the number 1 scoring offense, number 3 scoring defense. I don't know why that's not your number 1 team. But yeah, so that's Indiana's signature win.
And if you want to, we'll just going to talk about top 10 scoring offenses, or top 10 total offense, total defense. Texas Tech is in both of those, and I see them ranked behind BYU right here. So
yeah,
I'm just throwing that out there.
That's fair.
I don't know why you'd care, but
it will play itself out in Lubbock Saturday. That's where that will get sorted out.
Well, let's look at I want to look at something that we haven't really gotten to delve deep into, because let me tell you, it is a frantic sprint from 7:00 till the time we get to you here right now, getting everything together. So we'll get a little bit more polished as these go on in through the season. But as this pathway goes, A&M would take on the winner of Virginia and Ole Miss, and I don't know if I like that matchup for A&M. That would be, I don't know. I think of the teams on that, Ole Miss, Virginia would be one that you want to play, but Ole Miss,
yeah, I think this
is rolling a little bit.
Assuming Ole Miss wins,
right?
Then I don't think that's a fantastic matchup. Granted, this is the quarterfinal round, so any team you're going to play is tough. Ole Miss is one of those teams where last year they probably should have been 11-1, 12. I mean, they had a really stacked roster last year, but did miss the playoff. Now it's trending like they are going to make it if they keep this up. And I didn't think their roster was as talented. So they've been impressive to me, Ole Miss, the way they've been able to roll in here. Their only loss is to Alabama, who has an impressive record if you look at theirs. The really bad loss to Florida State, but after that they've had stacked up some really quality wins. One of those over Ole Miss. Yeah, I don't know, especially with some of the deficiencies A&M has had on defense, how much they would like that matchup with Lane Kiffin. A Lane Kiffin that, who knows if he's at Ole Miss after after that.
That is true. You're going to play through a lot of speculation there if that's a thing. Here's the other thing that stands out to me with this that is kind of fun. Mike Elko in the last press conference was talking about the parity in the SEC. Well, we can talk about parity across college football. I mean, we've blown through this as if it was just nothing. Indiana I would think Indiana should be the number 1 football team in the country. Indiana.
Yeah.
You look at
basketball school.
The basketball school. Yeah. You look at the teams over here in the left-hand column, and then even you can throw Texas A&M and Indiana just from recent historical success into this. This is a very diverse playoff field.
Absolutely.
Compared to the 4-team playoff, and that parity has really found its way into college football when you're talking about Texas Tech in the mix, Virginia is in the mix, Indiana, BYU is in the mix. I mean, this is fun. This is why it needs to stay at 12 teams, and 12 teams is a good thing, and B, why maybe this whole NIL transfer portal thing necessarily hasn't been so bad, because I like seeing a lot of different teams find their way into the playoff each year.
You don't have these dominant teams anymore, and there is a lot more parity. And we're going to see a lot of these fun matchups, and maybe some upsets in the college football playoff. I thought last year we saw a lot of parity in that, and this year it's trending like that same way. It'll be interesting to see how many of these teams. I mean, this is, again, the first ranking of 6.
Mm-hmm.
So over the next 6 weeks, they're gonna the one that actually matters is that last one. This is just kind of the teaser, the appetizer. This kind of shows us the collective thinking that the committee has. So now we have an idea of where they're judging things off of. It'll be interesting what the final 12 end up being. Again, I think Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M are all locked into that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a way those top 3 teams fall out.
I don't think so either. We got about 4 minutes here before we get off here. So if you have any last minute questions, comments, if you're watching over there on Facebook and you want to fire them away, you can get those going. Thanks for joining us today. We're gonna do one of these each week. A&M is in contention for a playoff seat, playoff spot. So we should be on here on most Tuesday nights and firing away some of our thoughts. We'll be a little more concise and a little bit more prepared. This was first run. Give us some grace.
I will say, looking at the way it is now, we talked about how A&M can play their way into a number 1 spot because of the who they have left on their schedule. How many losses do you think they are allowed in order to stay in this field of 12? I mean, how much grace do they have at this point?
Well, I mean, it depends on who the loss is to. I think that's. I mean, I think if they lose, of course, they lose to Samford. Yeah. That's a whole nother story. If they lose to South Carolina, that they're probably gonna have to win both Missouri and Texas. I feel like to give themselves enough insurance and padding room to stay in there. But I do think that they've reached the point with how things have shaken out in the SEC that they should, if they lose to Missouri and Texas but win the other 2 games, I still think they're in the field. They're probably traveling somewhere in the first round in that case. But I think if they lose to either South Carolina or Samford,
they're gonna have to beat both Missouri.
They're gonna have to beat both Missouri and Texas, because I think the committee will dock them. The other thing too of this that's a little hard to get in here and give a full reaction is we get an idea a little bit of what this committee looks at, or what this committee is valuing, but you kind of need that second week for things to change and move a little bit to see
what they reward,
what they don't reward. And so we'll have a little bit of a better idea next week to see, who falls because of a loss, what kind of loss it was, who rises, how far they rise.
Texas will play Georgia soon.
Yeah.
I'm curious what that, the implications of a game like that. We already talked about BYU, Texas Tech. Some of these ranked unranked matchups, I'm curious to see kind of what that does. Hypothetically, does a loss to a ranked Missouri, how much does that dock number 3 Texas A&M? Or does a win over number 22 Missouri, is that enough for them to slide into a top 2 spot? I think we'll have a lot of questions answered next week when we kind of see how the committee shuffles things around based on what happened. But man, it's a fun time of year for college football. We're down the home stretch. It's about a month left of the regular season, and we're going to start. But that's just the regular season. It seems like there's going to be a lot longer of a season if you're Texas A&M.
And you look at some of these schedules moving forward. The thing that A&M has in its favor the most is the fact that it does have those 2 ranked games left on its schedule, that they still have some serious proving ground. If you look at Ole Miss, they have the Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State left. If you look at Alabama, they do have number 12 Oklahoma, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. But then it's LSU, Eastern Illinois, and Auburn, two SEC teams that don't even have a head coach right now.
Yeah.
And then Georgia is the other interesting one, because you're right, they do play Texas November 15th, and then at the final game of the season, they have number 17 Georgia Tech, who's on there, that they have a little something that can give them a little bit of an edge. Alabama, they had those 4 ranked wins in a row. What is a late ranked win going to do? Because it always seems like losses late in the season absolutely can kill you.
Yes.
But wins sometimes can give you a bigger value, a bigger bang for your buck as well. What is that going to do for A&M fans? It's something that I know they don't want to hear, but they need to be rooting for the Longhorns to continue to win and continue to bolster that resume. They have Georgia, Arkansas, and A&M left. They winnable games. That Arkansas one could be a little weird in there, because that is in Austin, but they need to keep winning out, and Missouri needs to keep winning after if the A&M beats them. That's always the name of the game this time of the season.
Yeah, no, the better Texas is, that's either going to be a very quality win for A&M or a quality loss, late in the season. Because again, those losses hurt. I think that's what's going in Alabama's favor. They've got that early loss to Florida State. It won't look as bad, but it'll be fun to see what happens next. And ranked on ranked number 3 Texas A&M at 22 Missouri this Saturday. We will both be there in person to kind of see what this defense can prove. I'm curious to see if these comments on defense will light a fire maybe in the way Mike Elko's team plays, because they seem to respond well to.
They seem to respond well to being to taking things personal, the Michael Jordan meme, if you will.
Exactly. But we'll continue to kind of break all these down each week. Again, the first ranking of 6, so we'll be back next week to kind of break down week 2, see where Texas A&M is after this Missouri game. But thanks everybody for watching. For Travis Brown, I'm Tyler Shaw, and we'll see you next week.